Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today. I think it's 20 minutes to lunch, so I shall try and keep this moving. This is just a montage of slides about what TfL does. I'm rather hopeful that after 10 years, people understand what TfL is about. What I want to talk to you about today is just go back and look over why transport infrastructure investment is important and look at some lessons we can learn from the past. And then I'll just go forward and talk about two solutions about how do we deliver. And hopefully the second one will be of interest given the regeneration focus of this debate. I'm going to move this forward for all its excitement. Right, why invest in transport? I want to look back at Docklands, and I think Emma mentioned Docklands earlier today. Okay, I'm in transport. I think the thing that unlocked Docklands was the transport infrastructure. Investors, when they're going to put their equity at risk, want to see fixed infrastructure. They don't want to see bus routes that can be stopped. They want to see light rail. They want to see the tube. And I think Docklands has been a tremendous success. It has kept London as a world city, and that is something we should be proud of and celebrate. But having said it's a success, in one way it was a failure. The cost of the Jubilee line was £1.2 billion, as it was forecast. When it came in, £3.6 billion, 3 times over budget. LUL was berated for this. We took a lot of flack. But I think the problem here is we just tend to look at one side of the equation. We look at the cost side. So let's think about what value was added, what was generated. Now, one of the things is I tried to find a post-project appraisal of the economic impact of the Jubilee line extension. I thought it'd be something that someone would have done, but I cannot find it anywhere. And this may be a comment on how the UK approaches infrastructure. But what I did find was an assessment of land values 500 metres within stations, appreciated by £12.8 billion. So let's just move this. Instead of being berated about whether we've gone over budget, we're actually arguing whether we made let's get the figures right, an 11.6 billion or a 9.2 billion profit. It's a different way of thinking about the problem. We've got to look at the income side as well as the cost side to make this work. Having looked back, looking forward, London, I know people have commented, if we're going to grow out of our troubles as the UK, we need London to grow. We've got 1 million jobs forecast, we've got an increase in population of 1 million. We need the transport infrastructure to support that. Okay, what do we do at TfL? We have an investment programme going out to 2018, and there are 2 key planks to that investment programme. This is the tube upgrade programme. You can see the numbers here are the increase in capacity at the peak times. This is a massive programme, £8 to £10 billion worth of investment, and it's absolutely vital to keep London moving. And I make no apologies for sort of pitching and saying we need to keep this investment flowing. We've started it, let's carry on. And the other thing just to think about is that it is a tube network. There is no point in expanding the Northern Line so that when people get off at Warren Street, the Victoria Line isn't there, it's full. So we need to treat it as a network, and we need to keep this investment going. The other plank is, of course, Crossrail, which I'm sure everyone is aware of. And again, we don't have time now. I think the argument has been won for why we should invest in Crossrail. I'm not going to reiterate the arguments now. The issue is we've got to go ahead. If you take the tube upgrades and Crossrail, it adds £56 billion to the UK economy. Let's not delay that. If we're going to grow our way out of trouble, this is what we need to do. We need to invest in this infrastructure to allow that to happen. So having given my sort of, if you like, unsurprising answer about how do we deliver, which is let me carry on and do what I've been doing already, I'll now move on to something new. And this is Vauxhall 9 Elms Battersea, I think it's called. I can't quite reach up here. The area on the right there, you can see there's the power station. Over to the right is New Covent Garden Market. It's an area of London, 195 hectares in the central activity zone of the world's greatest city. And it is currently host to a disused power station and what I call a lot of sheds. I'm sure there's a lane undeveloped for sort of 30 years now. If we want to grow ourselves out of our troubles, this is an area we need to unlock. We need to unlock this area. A sort of recent potted history of this is that the area is now called an opportunity area. The GLA has produced a planning framework for that opportunity area. It expounds a vision which does demonstrate true ambition to deliver 16,000 new homes, 20 to 25,000 jobs. Just the sort of thing we need to do. You can see some of the pictures at the bottom. That is the power station site, and the building on the left, for those who don't know, is the new American embassy that was unveiled a couple of weeks ago. If we're going to unlock this area, the reason it's never been developed before is its access to public transport is appalling. There may be lots of railway lines around there, but none of them serve the area. So the answer is extend the Northern Line. You can see the picture at the top right there. Those of you know London, there's a loop at Kennington, and you take a branch off and take it down to Battersea and put a station in between. That is the way to unlock the area. The problem is it's going to cost about £600 million. And let's face it, in the current environment, if I sat there and said, do you mind government just find me another £600 million to invest, that isn't going to happen. We're not going to have access to those public funds we've had before. So what are we going to do, or what are we trying to do? Well, we're looking at trying to create the right revenue stream. We're looking at tax incremental funding for this. We think this is a great example and a great case study for tax incremental funding. The area is clearly defined. You can draw a line around it. Unfortunately, I haven't got the picture with that on. We can see the massive increase in business rates that's going to occur. We can record the stamp duties that are going to be generated out of the area. We need to start capturing these revenue streams, because if we're going to create, if you like, the off-balance sheet solutions, I'm sure many of you have had this debate about how to create off-balance sheet solutions. We need a steady revenue stream, and this is a steady revenue stream we can get into. And I think if anyone's here from HM Treasury, close your ears, it is hypothecation that I'm talking about. We're going to have to take the taxes from this area and create a steady revenue stream to enable the investment. That's going to be key. The other thing, and I know we talked about from the form here, is we've got to think about who owns these assets at the end. But they're not going to be public sector owned assets. We're going to have to think about ways of keeping the private sector involved in this. We're going to have to think about the sort of regulated asset-based model, and we're going to have to think about how we run that in the future. We don't have the capacity to keep creating more publicly owned assets. We have to look at alternative solutions. So that's like my brief talk on that, and hopefully we'll have a report coming out in 5 weeks' time that will set out a sort of concrete example of TIF. We'll give all the cash flows, all the structures, which I hope things forward. Thank you.